Welcome to the Economy magazine at I-24 News, where we provide a daily view on world markets and the global economy. I'm Natalie Ehrlich. Coming up today, Jordan's economy in focus as it battles the threat of IS. And Israeli startup MUV Interactive transforms any surface into a touchscreen. Let's start now with the financial headlines. Well, Chinese stock markets rallied into Wednesday's close, but the volatility continues to add pressure on global markets. The Shanghai Composite finished up 1.2%. Earlier, it plunged as much as 5%, sparking sell-offs in a number of Asian markets. Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined 1.1%, and Japan's Nikkei closed down 1.6%. In early trading, the Stoxx Europe 600 was 0.9% lower. Germany's DAX dropped 1.1%. Well, markets also anticipating the latest minutes from the U.S. Federal Reserve. Market pros eagerly await any hints from the Fed as to when it actually plans to hike rates. The first time since the start of the financial crisis of 2008. A ream of positive economic data in the U.S. has given the central bank greater confidence to make that change. But now, a changing global economic landscape, primarily in China, could change that. As of early Wednesday, financial markets viewed a September rate hike as a toss-up. Meanwhile, Greece returns to the headlines. Germany's finance minister urging the country's lawmakers to approve the new bailout deal on Wednesday, arguing Athens deserved more aid for taking on painful austerity measures for the recent €86 billion deal. A vote in favor for Germany's Bundestag would mark a major step towards the final adoption of the bailout by Eurozone finance ministers. In another sign of global weakness, Japan's export growth slowed in July following reduced shipments of cars and electronics to Asia. The 7.6% annual increase in export in July was higher than the median estimate of 5.5% annual growth, estimated by economists polled by Reuters. However, that number was still lower than June's solid 9.5% year-on-year boost. Slowing export growth in July now raises the question whether the government will add more economic stimulus. Moving closer to home, Jordan, the country recently announcing plans to raise a barrier along its border with Iraq and Syria in order to thwart the infiltration of IS militants. For analysis of Jordan's economy in the face of the Syrian-Iraq war, we are joined by Mudar Zahran, Secretary General of the Jordanian Coalition of Opposition. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Natalie.
Well, it sounds like Amman is taking more aggressive action now to protect itself against the IS threat. How has turmoil in the region affected its economy?
Well, first of all, we have millions of Syrians who have come into a country of barely 7 million. Those are a huge burden to the economy, even though the United States and Europe basically covers all of their expenses. They still have competed with Jordanians over jobs. They get much less pay than the average Jordanian worker. There is an incredible increase in the number of unemployed Jordanians. Amman is actually the most expensive in the Arab world, which is very ridiculous that Amman is actually more expensive than Tel Aviv. This is all there's also political trouble. We have to know that many Arab countries have given up on the Jordanian regime. For example, Saudi Arabia has stopped supplying billions to the king. United Arab Emirates has no longer given it money. The only country that's still supporting the king and his government is Iraq by providing discounted oil price. So Jordan is now, I'm going to just quote what one of the regime's own journalists, Maher Abu Tair, said a month ago. Jordan is isolated and has been abandoned under incredible economic pressure. We have to watch for Jordan because I think this can last forever.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the program and giving your insight.
Thank you.
Shifting now to the Startup Nation. On set, we are joined by Rami Parham, the CEO of MUV Interactive. The company creates a ring-like accessory which turns any room into a 3D interactive workspace. Thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure being here.
So tell us, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, we know that there is an extreme gap between our display capabilities and our processing power and our input capabilities because they are limited today for touchscreens and some optic sensors. And we have created a revolutionary device that just attaches to your finger and it can sense anything your fingers are doing in space. and hence allows you to control anything around you, including screens or devices or smart home appliances, any other thing that can be controlled.
Well, how exactly does this technology work?
So we have combined three technological disciplines together. One is optic sensing, related to diffractional optics and patterns optics. And the second is inertial sensing, where we were using lots of inertial inputs to combine them with the optical inputs we are receiving. And the third one, what we call wearable sensing. It's related to capacitive and force sensing, proximity sensors, near-field cameras. Actually, we have 10 different kinds of sensing elements inside this small wearable device that sends us tens of thousands of numbers every second. And those numbers just tells us a story about what you're doing.
Well, what is this actually good for? What settings?
So first of all, you can take each and every existing TV display, projector, or computer monitor on Earth and turn it into a touchscreen. Second, you can take those displays and control them remotely using your hand gestures. And third, you can control smart home appliances and smart devices with your fingers. We are now targeting it to the corporate meeting rooms and presentation sessions, smart classrooms, AR and VR control, the gaming industry, IoT industry, and other industries that require some kind of interactivity.
And which industries have given you the most response?
So far, the lowest hanging fruits that we are targeting are indeed the corporate and education sectors, and down the road we have smart TV and living rooms, and gaming and IoT, and also medical application is very interesting here, and manufacturing floors also requires very precise interaction.
Well, you mentioned medical applications. What are they potentially?
Well, you have lots of advanced medical applications today that are relying on regular touchscreens. You have simulations, like you have flight simulations. So today you have brain surgery simulations, where the doctor are having the entire simulations before they have the operation. So they need some kind of device on their finger that will tell them what they're doing right now, and this is what we're supplying to them.
Wow, this really sounds very fascinating. You do regularly attend events worldwide. Tell us about your next steps.
So at the end of September next month, we're going to publicly launch this product in the US. We're going to have a road tour in 4 different countries there in a month, meeting tens of reporters and media sources. We started receiving orders in our website a few months ago, so anyone can just go to MUVinteractive.com, enter his email address, and secure his bird from our first batch, and we're going to start shipping orders at the end of this year.
Terrific. And what advice do you have for other Israeli entrepreneurs seeking to gain prominence on the world stage?
Well, you know, it's challenging to develop consumer electronic devices outside of Israel because usually we are developing more cyber security and applications and stuff. But if that's your dream, so never give up, chase it, and just don't forget to enjoy the ride.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Very much appreciated, and good luck.
Thank you, Nat.
Well, now moving on, the bombings in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, are now expected to harm an economy which already suffers from a variety of vulnerabilities. Shelby Weiner has this story.
The ongoing attempts at destruction might be politically motivated, targeting the economy and tourism.
The perpetrators of the attack that killed 21 people on Monday in Bangkok are still unknown. Thai leaders are worried. Tourism, the lifeblood of their economy, has been targeted.
This is very bad for the economy. If I were a tourist, I would not want to be in this kind of situation.
It affects people's minds negatively, both locals and tourists.
The spirit of the Thai has been dampened. Tourism has been growing in recent years, making up 8.5% of the GDP. In the first half of 2015, over 12 million people visited the Asian country, a dramatic increase of 25% compared to last year. Then a second bomb exploded Tuesday. It brought no casualties, only fears of more attacks. And tourism cancellations have already begun.
Today we have organized a meeting among the agents mainly operating tours to Bangkok. We have basically reached an agreement that the tours will be cancelled to Bangkok from this afternoon, 18th of August, until the end of August.
For now, the Bangkok Stock Exchange is trembling. Tuesday, the SET index lost more than 2.5%. The numbers in tourism are already trending down as well. Stock of the national airlines, Thai Airways, fell 6% by midday. On Wednesday, the stock picked up, but Thailand's growth forecast was trimmed to 3%. The country now fears a general economic slowdown.
And now for the pulse on the Middle East and Financial Bazaar with Ayman Siksak. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi,
so we have a
Natalie.
surprise visit from Indian PM to the UAE. What's the significance?
That's right. It's a big deal. Firstly, it's his first time in a theocratic Muslim country. That's very important. And secondly, he really wants to stress and improve India's relations with the general United Arab Emirates. Now, firstly, he wants to look at Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi has an $800 billion sovereign wealth fund funded by oil. So he wants to tap into that. India wants to tap into that. And the UAE is specifically important to India because the United Arab Emirates population supports 20% of India's total remittances. So the UAE is important to Narendra Modi. And we have to look at it also in the context of him being a really financially focused prime minister. He recently introduced...
So this is a business trip.
Absolutely. He recently introduced a huge reform in India's economy, opening it up even further to sovereign investments, foreign investments specifically. He was actually criticized quite a lot for that, for not investing enough within India and creating opportunities for Indians, and instead opening the country up to foreign investment. So this is part of this strategy as well. He wants to improve relations with the United Arab Emirates, thus helping Indian economy from the outside. And of course, oil is a big factor in this big picture.
And you mentioned remittances here. How much of the interest do you think is the Indian workforce that is currently working there in the UAE?
Well, the UAE economy is a really, really strange and fascinating economy to look at. Scholars call it a double economy. You have a huge population of people working in simple jobs, not making enough money, not having access to services, and then an equally huge population of white-collar employees. So there's really a dual economy in the UAE. There's a huge gap in status of these two populations. So I think Modi understands how important the UAE is to India, and this is part of a bigger business plan that he sees for his country.
Well, excellent point. Now let's move on to Turkey.
Well, Turkey, not such good news. The Turkish lira has devalued 18% against the dollar. That's a huge, huge decline. So lots of fears in Turkey right now. What's we're seeing is a lot of Turkish people are converting their liras to dollars. And this is a particularly worrying trend because while this is happening, foreign investors are cashing in on their investments and leaving the country. So there's not enough money coming in while the Turkish lira is declining more and more.
And why is it declining so much?
Well, I think partly a huge reason for that is the political instability in Turkey right now. Since Erdogan lost what he wanted of his power. In July, he was for 12 years the biggest party, the ruling party in Turkey, and now his power has been diminished. He's forced now to create a coalition in Turkey, which he's never had to do before. And we're seeing now that he might have to go into early elections again in November. So Turkey is really unstable politically, and this is, of course, as we see everywhere in the world, also affecting the finance. Turkish citizens are just saying the Turkish lira might devalue even more. We're going to convert to dollars. This reminds us of what we recently saw in Greece, with lots of Greeks converting their euros and moving away from the country as fast as possible. The banks are unable to provide the money in the pace that the citizens want it, and this is creating a series of problems for the country.
All right. Well, showing the strength of the dollar yet again, what else do you have for us?
Well, Saudi Arabia is also experiencing the same trend as in Turkey. The Saudi riyal has depreciated quite dramatically, also about 18% in recent weeks. And this is surprising coming from Saudi Arabia because while the problems have been ongoing in the Middle East for quite some time now, and all the countries that have been supported by oil, including Iran and Afghanistan and others, Saudi Arabia has remained quite strong because of its strong relations with the world and the huge funds that it had in reserves. It really wasn't affected as badly as other Middle Eastern countries from the dropping oil prices. this is the first time we're seeing a real significant blow to the Saudi rial due to the reducing oil prices. And this is a trend that's not stopping. The prices are falling and falling in oil. Finally, Saudi Arabia is starting to feel the blow.
Wow, this is really fascinating, and especially since recently they opened their stock exchange to the world market, which was surprising, and it wasn't as good. The first few days wasn't as good as they were expecting.
That's right. But in some good news for Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Middle East, while we're seeing carriers, air carriers around the world reporting that demand is declining, the profits are declining, Middle Eastern carriers are actually reporting a 15% increase in demand and 19% increase in capacity during 2015. So some good news to end with there.
Well, thank you very much for ending on positive news for us. Ayman Siksak of Financial Bazaar, very much appreciated.
Thank you,
well, that
Natalie.
wraps up our show today. Stay tuned every day from the Jaffa Port in Tel Aviv. I'm Natalie Orlick. Thank you very much for watching.